Welcome back. I absolutely agree with these restaurants. I am a capitalist. If it has to make sense, these are jobs that were low skilled jobs that were made to for people to work for a low wage. Now everyone's petitioning to raise the whatever the pay is for minimum wage to the same kind of rate that you would pay somebody for a job that's more skilled, requires more education, but now they want low level jobs to receive high level pay, which makes no sense. You're not supposed to be 40 something years old trying to support a family and a household working as a cashier in a restaurant. That's not what that's for. That's supposed to be a summer job for kids that are coming home from college or people just getting started in the workforce. So you're demanding all this money, and who do you think is going to pay it? Nobody. This is a capitalist society. There must be a profit generated. If something starts to dig into the profits, we're going to just do away with it and we're going to find another way. These restaurants have done that. So this is the story right here. Take a listen.
This NYC restaurant's cashiers zoom in from across the world and appear on this monitor. The funniest part is that they still ask for a tip. Outsourcing jobs has been a common strategy.
What's funny about asking for a tip? They're still working. I mean, what's the difference between somebody standing there in person talking to you and someone talking to you over a screen? What's the difference? I'm on the screen right now talking to you. We're not in the same house. When you're on the phone with somebody, it's the same difference. You're still conducting business. So if you felt like this person was very good with their customer service, they got your order right the first time, they spoke good, clear English, then yeah, I don't see any problem with them asking for a tip and me giving them one. No different than a person who's actually standing there in front of me in the flesh.
To cut down on costs, but this might be going too far. When you walk into the store, the front desk has an iPad which says "Welcome to my store," and right next to it is a monitor very clearly showing a Zoom meeting with a cashier who is located in the Philippines. There's a time difference of 12 hours from the Philippines and New York for these workers, and they're only getting paid $3.75 per hour.
What do you mean only? That is a good amount of money when you live in the Philippines. The average in the Philippines, you're considered rich if you're making $700 American a month. So 375 is actually a good amount of money. If you're comparing that to wages here in the United States where everything is inflated and overpriced, then of course it's going to look bad. But that's actually a fair wage for the type of work they're doing. You're sitting on a Zoom meeting, you're sitting in front of a computer and you're talking to people and taking food orders. It's not rocket science. You're not doing brain surgery. You don't deserve more than that much pay. You're being paid what you're for your skill level for the amount of work you're doing. Every job does not require high pay. Oh, but Rico, they should raise a minimum wage to $20 an hour. 20, make it 50. Matter of fact, why don't you make it 100? Let's do $100 an hour minimum wage, and it's going to be the same outcome. We're just not going to hire you anymore, and we're going to find a way because the show must go on. We're still going to conduct business. We're just not going to hire you. You want to be paid all this money for a low skilled job. You should have already elevated yourself to a different position. That's how we have a chain in this country of upward mobility. You go to school. You this is a these are entry level jobs. You're not supposed to be here forever unless you're going to become a manager or you're working your way up to for by a promotion to be a GM. You're not supposed to be at these low skilled jobs indefinitely. You're supposed to further your education, work somewhere else for another company, start a business, build a career. But you're asking for all this money for these low skilled jobs. Doesn't make any sense.
They do it because this job is actually very high paying relative to the Philippines, where the average monthly wage is only $325. Also, the cashier doesn't have to do much other than greet the customer.
325 is actually good money in the Philippines. Every country is not cost what it does here in the United States. That's great money. This guy right here is manipulative. He's trying to manipulate you so that you think 375. He's not telling you that the currency exchange in the Philippines to the US, so that's actually worth the exchange is different. The cost of living is dramatically different. It's like 1/10 of the cost to live here than it is to live in the United States. And he's being disingenuous. He's basically just trying to play on your sympathy, pull on your heartstrings so you feel like these people are being done bad, because he wants you to complain so that these people would fire their employees because they're not being paid enough, so that they would have to hire these Americans that are also being overpaid. No, we're not doing that either. The manipulation doesn't always work. It's working less and less, actually.
Customers, answer some questions, and maybe take some orders. But there's also a self-checkout kiosk right next to the counter, and customers pick up their own food from a small window near the kitchen. The rest
I'll be honest, I don't like going up to a screen and typing in my order. I want to talk to somebody. I like the human interactions. I remember when I used to live in France, and when I first walked into a McDonald's there and they had the kiosks only, I made a U-turn and went to another restaurant because I want to talk to somebody in person. When enough of us complained about that in Paris, they actually got rid of those kiosks and they started having real humans work there again. We can always just say no. The problem is when you have these idiots with a bullhorn in the United States that are screaming, we need to raise minimum wage. No, we don't. Minimum wage is for jobs that require minimal skills. The wage is supposed to match the skill, not your age. If you want to work a minimum skill job at 50 something years old, no, we're not. You can't expect to make enough money to support a household of three with your kids and your car. That's ridiculous. You're going to need to work your way up and get a job that pays more. But you're not going to take this low skill job and demand that it be paid more. It doesn't make sense. $20 an hour, 50 an hour. We know you might as well just say, let's raise minimum wage to $1,000 an hour. The same outcome. We're just not going to hire you anymore. The business is not going to close. You're just going to be out of a job. And now you went from, well, I was going to make $8 an hour. Now I'm making zero. That's the problem with these communists and these people that are always trying to manipulate you with this equity talk. They don't want to work, but you embarrass them when you go to work. They want you to quit your job so that you can all be equally poor. And that way they don't have a complex about themselves no more because you're at the bottom with them. They're not just at the bottom by themselves. It's like this mass manipulation of all these people in the public who want others to be at the bottom with them because, well, they feel insecure about being down there by themselves. This is the United States. If you want to work and earn more, you can. That comes with the freedom to work. But there's a lot of us that don't want to work anymore. So they blame it on the minimum wage. You shouldn't be working a minimum wage job too at your big age. You should be doing something else. But now look, they're outsourcing to other countries and doing Zoom meetings, Zoom calls as cashiers. And they just don't need you anymore. And think about it, it makes sense. At least you ain't got to worry about these cashiers stealing from you in the Philippines. I doubt they're going to say, you know what? Instead of swiping your card, just pay by this app. They don't have Cash App in the Philippines, so these people are not going to be able to steal from you. It's going to make more sense, and they're going to appreciate that job. They're going to take that 375 and they're going to smile. They're not going to complain. They're not going to bitch. They're not going to say, "Oh, you should pay me more." Bob, for this low skill job, hell no, I'm not paying you anymore. But now, just like with anything else, you're going to push too far, and you're going to end up with nothing, nothing. Period. And now look, these people are all being replaced. They're trying to figure out where they're going to work, and they're just out of work. That's how they have so much time to protest and be activists. That's why they wanted a Mondami. Because see, this is in New York. They want a Mondani because they think that this means we're not going to have to pay rent anymore. We're not going to have to pay for electricity. We're not going to have to pay for food. We're going to just be able to just live like we did during the lockdown. Remember when rent was free? They were giving out money from the government. You didn't have to pay any bills. You just hung out all day and drank and smoked and kicked it with your friends. That's the life. See, that's the problem. When you give regular Americans who are capitalists, you give them a taste of communism, they'll develop an addiction. They're going to want more of it. And now people are screaming for the lockdown. Because see, that's all that is. The Mondami, what he's offering are the conditions that you had during lockdown. Buses are free, subways are free, your rent's going to be free. All these landlords are scrambling because they're like, this is going to be basically where we can't do an eviction anymore. Like they're doing in Atlanta, like they're doing, like they did in LA. They want these property owners to lose the property so that the state can take them. That's communist. When the state owns all the means of the production, they own the property, they own the utility companies. See, right now, these are all owned by people and boards, but the state wants to take control of it. That's communism. So these people think if the state takes over, then they can just get everything for free. But what comes with that? You're not going to have anything. It's like you're volunteering to be in the Hunger Games society. That's why I was so against raising the minimum wage. I knew that would lead to you idiots being out of work. And I was right. And now they've replaced you with people that are talking from other parts of the world who are happy to do the jobs that you were complaining about. I hope you're happy. Ridiculous. I'll be back shortly with another live. I'll see you again. And shout out to our sponsor, cosigning.com. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.